very good morning, folks. Welcome to the second or third session in here as part of the Talk About Cool sessions here at Show Me Wellington. My name's Mark Westerby. I'm the Chief Executive of the Random Group, and it's our great pleasure to be supporting the Talk About Cool sessions here today. So it gives me an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we do. The Random Group is exactly that. It's very random, as we were just talking about. We have three companies. Propeller Studios is based in Shelley Bay, and we have about 3,000 props that we rent out for events and things, but we also have a bespoke manufacturing facility, so we'll make anything you want out of, on our CNC machines or fiberglassing or anything you like, really. So, and then we have a studio out there where we have events and all sorts of filming shoots as well, offices, meeting rooms, and etc. Cuba Creative is an events management company, but we specialise in modifying shipping containers and turning them into pop-up spaces. And Random Films has been investing in feature film development for the last 10 years. So we've just had Pork Pie come out at the cinemas recently. We've got another film called Beyond the Known World, which comes out April 20th. We have a whole lot of equipment as well that we rent out with Random Films for events and films. So if you want to come and have a chat to us, we're at booth 99. The big statue of Kate Shepherd is there, so come and say hi. I'll be here throughout the day. But now it's my great pleasure to introduce the next speaker for today. It's Julian Moore from Strategic Membership Solutions. Thank you.
How awesome is his name, Random? So often when I was doing any speaks, people go to me, that's a bit random. Now Mark can actually go, no, we're completely random. We're actually, the industry are random. I just think that's the best company name I've heard for so long. And now I'm also being told that, we're talking and I'm cool again. And no one will have ever told my 15-year-old daughter that I would be cool once again. So I'm beginning to love this organisation because I get to be random and cool and 43 and overweight all at the same time. It's awesome. Today, I've got 45 minutes to talk about making kick-ass proposals and, not kick-ass proposals, killer proposals. They need to be kick-ass. And sponsorship for events and organisations. My background is, look, it's really, I'll give you the quick overview. I saw this hot Australian woman talking in Barcelona about membership, and I was sat at the back of the auditorium and I couldn't really focus on membership. I find membership quite boring. And, and what I did was come down and introduce myself. We had a conversation. 14 hours later, we're still having a conversation. I've been to none of the pre-scheduled meetings I should go to, and I've been to none of those conferences, exhibitions. I didn't get to anything. It was the most expensive meeting of my life. I'm now married to her. I live in Brisbane, and that's how I ended up across here. Since being across, we've worked with everyone from, well, at the moment we've got the QE Health over in Rotorua who have just told me they now need $26 million of partnerships so that they can have a new building. We've got the Tourism Industry Association, or Aotearoa, as they've just rebranded, who now want to achieve a 2025 goal of $41 billion of investment into infrastructure for tourism. So I get called in some pretty random stuff. So I thought what we would do today is try to go through all the questions I ask of any new client and how we put together a proposal. Then, because I'm quite lazy as well, I figured, how do I communicate who people should be looking for? So I hope you've got your pens and pads here, because I've just listed a whole range of sponsors who are looking actively now to get hold of organisations and what they're doing. And at the end of this, if anyone has any questions and you're working in some random association that no one's thinking about partnering with, put your hand up. We'll see if we can work out who you should be approaching. Also, if you've got your business cards and you hear any names and you want their contact details, just write them down. I'll email you the contact details. Because everyone's always saying to me, Well, how come you give away contact details? What about privacy laws? They're corporates. Their information's out there on the internet. It's already public domain. It's just I employ a lady with the dragon tattoo who cyberstalks people and finds me the contact details. And those contact details are probably only relevant for the next 6-7 weeks until they move on and do something else. One of the biggest challenges in sponsorship is understanding who to approach, how to find them, how to get their direct email, how to get their direct telephone number. So, of course, it's giving those away, it makes your job so much easier. Let's jump straight into this because I've only got 45 minutes, and as you hear already, I love to talk. What is sponsorship? I start every presentation I do off with this slide. Sponsorship, it's all about that commercial outcome. It's about nothing else. Sponsorship and partnerships really should just be called a corporate contract. They actually don't share your passion. When you first start looking at someone like Westpac, and you're the Road and Haulage Association, or you're the Medical Association, Westpac don't care. What they care about is how much business am I going to win at the end of this? How many more loans can I do? How will this affect my share price? What they get involved after that comes later. So the reason I say this is the number of proposals I see sent out to these organizations that lead with goodwill. And they lead with things like, we've been going since 1953, or established in 1953, and we assist so many people in these key ways. Or it starts off with, we'll put your logo on our website. Now that's one of the more common ones. They don't care about any of this. What they care about is, what's the return on investment for myself? Once they see that key return on investment, then they want to look into what the rest will be getting. So keep this in the back of your mind. Sponsorship is all about the commercial outcome. Because when I'm sat in a meeting with a sponsor, it's all I'm thinking. It's, what are they going to get out of this? Because that's the conversations we should be having. When we're looking at our proposals, since the GFC hit, the whole thing changed. Just everything changed. It used to be a case that we could have gold, silver, bronze. We could put your company and our company on the front page, send this out to an organization, and they would pick a package. Since GFC hit, what would happen? Well, there's about 9,000 non-profits in New Zealand. They all basically went, what are we going to do for income? Wrote out your company and our company, put a standard package together and emailed it out to everyone to give you an idea of just how bad this is in the worst case. Someone like Officeworks in Australia, they are getting 1,500 proposals a week. Can you imagine? 1,500 proposals that they're not expecting turn up every week that land on the director's desk. He does not employ anyone in that organization just to read unsolicited proposals. What he does is he waits till Thursday, because Thursday afternoon he's dedicated to sorting out who he should follow up and who he should engage with more. And he does it really simply. He's got 1,500 proposals a week, and he picks up the front one and goes, that's interesting, that's not, that's not, that's not, that's not. It's got to the point now where the front cover is the most important page of any proposal, to the point where I'm so tempted, but I haven't been able to actually write a single page proposal, just inside cover, and it says, for every dollar you spend, I'll return you $1 million back tomorrow. Because I still know we wouldn't get 100% cut through with that kind of offer, because if the front page isn't right, they just wouldn't read it. And you know when they haven't read your proposal. You get that wonderful letter. Dear Julian, thank you so much for contacting Westpac. Unfortunately, at the moment, all our budgets are taken up and expended elsewhere. We currently work with someone else, someone else, someone else, someone else in these other areas, and we wish you all the best in the future with your endeavors regarding X event. That basically means we haven't read your proposal. And I have to show so many clients this. What we do is we actually phone up and go, hi, thanks for your email responding back. Can I just ask, which part of the proposal was it that you didn't like? all of it. And it's like they just have no answer. It's because if they're drowning in these, the sorting becomes the front cover. Then what we have is that full page, a positioning statement. A positioning statement gives you a single page to get this information across. Why should I sponsor you? That's what that page has to get across. And you only get one page because the way people read these, they pick them up and go, that's interesting. They open it up, read that page, and then they flick straight to the back to see how much it's going to cost me. So you really only get this single page. So well, what we have to remember is on that full page, we've got to get across, first of all, why they should be partnering with us, who we are, and what's in it for them. Now, to do this succinctly and in a way that they're going to read the entire page is really quite a skill. And it means that we have to remove detail. And we're all predisposed to writing much more detail than is required. Who here is with an association? Who's got a random one? Who's here with one of those, oh, I didn't know, most people would have never heard of. Has anyone got a random one? Yay, I knew we'd have one. What's the organisation? New Zealand Nurses. You're not random, you're awesome. We love you. But now New Zealand Nurses, the reason we're going to think this is a tough one is because public opinion on nurses is awesome, but nurses purchase almost nothing because it's all done through the authority that employs them. So how do you get nurses involved? I'm just going to hold on to that one a moment because I've just realized in about 3 slides, I've got a nurses slide, which is coincidental, and I'll pay you later. So with this, what we would have to do is set the scene. So if you think we've got nurses, it would be a case of, dear, insert first name. So we use a merge field. Dear Julian, New Zealand nurses are facing a greater challenge in 2017 than ever in history before. Currently, with wages, with the, pick a topic, with the gender difference on payments, with longer hours, with a higher working week, with more mental health issues, and with more expectations on them, they've never struggled like they have today. With this in mind, we're seeking partners who can make our nurses' lives easier, more profitable, and a happier place to be. We've identified 5 key partners within the area of holidays or vacations, with you being the #1 on our list. The reason we identified you is because you deliver holidays to a key demographic of females between the ages of 21 and 45 years old, which is firmly within our remit. The great news here is we communicate with our members on a weekly basis to keep them up to date with the ongoing trends and information in the industry. We would like to partner with you to expose your products and services to this hard-to-reach, time-poor demographic. This is your front page. Then when someone reads this, they're going, hang on, so we can get in front of this time-poor demo, they'll read our information, they'll understand it, and then you drop the bomb. And this would be industry exclusivity. Industry exclusivity only means 2 things. To them, it means their nearest competitor won't be involved. So now they are not in a competitive environment. To me, it just means they have to sign up for 1, 3, or 5 years. And now I can charge them times a multiple of 7 to be involved, because now I can't go out to anyone else in that industry and they'll pay this money. So you tend to find the minimum that you would charge for something like this, as in any organization, is about 40,000. But that goes all the way through, depending on the size of members, the size and numbers. Then we list the benefits. The benefits have an individual page of their own. Now, if anyone would like a template of this, because I know I've only got 45 minutes, do write on your business card and hand it in. I'll email you a copy of the template I use. Don't use the template verbatim, will you? Because I must do about 2,500 partnerships a year in hundreds of millions of dollars in turnover, and they will have read it. So let's make sure you adapt this. But the list of benefits, you give the overview. This is a showcase proposal of your organization. Don't make it too detailed, because if you list research as a heading for 1 page, events as a heading for 2 pages, because all events value about 47% of all partnerships are based on events. Everything else adds to the remainder. So then we've got the events, then we have the communications, hard copy and electronic copy, and then we'll put social media in. If you just go, we will only give you this, 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 and this, one company may go, well, your social media policy doesn't fit ours, so you're no longer relevant. What you want to have is an area of flexibility within your proposal so that the organization goes, we love this with the exception of that, so if we remove this, can we still go ahead? We want to have that tailored area so that the first meeting with them, they slide a non-disclosure contract under your nose, you sign this, and then they pour their heart out about, oh, look, we've been trying to get hold of this industry for so long, but we haven't been able to because our product's against this rival. Well, the moments they do this, you're then able to sit back and go, well, actually, this is how we can assist you to overcome these challenges. The key contacts page, it's not one person. People relate to people. So most of the time, wow, this really echoes, doesn't it? I feel like I should do some drumming. And now the AV guy's going, no, don't do this. It's, hello. And the cameraman's there, and look, he's waving, but I can do this now. And now he has to get up and move, you see. It's the joys of working with other event organizers, they're awesome, aren't they? Key contacts. So where were we? It can't be one person. What it needs to be is a selection of key individuals from your organization. So you, as the writer of the proposal and the person who identified the organization you're approaching, should be number one. Doesn't matter if CEO's involved, doesn't matter if the chairperson of the board's involved, you are the key contact. So we always position you first. And on there, we have a full body shot, a whole body shot photo of you. And then a very short bio. That bio is not about your education. It's not about all the things that you've done in the past. It's about what you do today that would assist them. So I remember writing one for an events person, and they'd listed like 200 words, and I changed it to, Kim is the events guru of Playgroup Queensland. Her role is dedicated to getting the most up-to-date information out to members in the most efficient way, utilizing all our mediums. Kim is an typical events person, overworked, under-resourced and underpaid. Give Kim a call if she can find the time to answer the phone. And that was her bio. But of course, every marketing person in every organization understood this. And when they phoned Kim up, we had to call you. You're the only person who understands exactly what we're going through. Have you got time to talk to us? So what we've got to do is humanize you. So we get you as number one. CEO goes number two because, you know, tiny egos, got to keep them happy. So they can go as number two. And then after the CEOs, then what we have to do is find another person within your organization who likes people. Because you don't want someone to phone up and go, hey, it's so-and-so from Westpac. I'm just phoning up about this proposal. And they go, what proposal? Or they're, you know, if they're that board member who's had the operation to remove their personality, it's that one where they pick the phone up and go, hey, it's so-and-so from Westpac, and they're like, hello. You want people who like people, because we talk about it being relationships, but realistically, they end up becoming almost friendships. They become just one of those kind of partnerships that are just ongoing, and it all kicks off with your key contacts page. So full body shot, minimum of 3 people on your key contacts, short bio, 4 questions. Always ask questions. So like favorite movie, something industry related. So biggest current challenge facing the nurses industry in New Zealand. Favorite movie, favorite holiday destination, favorite quote to live by. So now what you've got is 3 contacts all answering the same questions, all honestly. Well, the reason I use the quote is because you can't go wrong unless you lie. I've had one client who was actually a midwives association who Googled her favorite quote, and it was, Ginger Rogers was always better than Fred Astaire because she did everything Fred Astaire did, but she did it going backwards in high heels and a long dress. So it was, it's a good quote. But of course, we got in front of a sponsor and she's gone, we had to get you in. I love this quote. It's been my favorite quote for however long. And in fact, I've got a copy of it behind my desk at work. And my client's gone, what quote? So immediately, the sponsor's gone, you've just lied to me even in written form. So I've had one, the Master Electrician. You'll notice I tend to name organizations, and it's a terrible habit. So if you hear me upsetting someone, do tell them. It's the Master Electricians. He says, I don't have quotes. I don't like them. You know, favorite quote, shit happens. So he put it down. But of course, all the sponsors that came back went, they're bloody quotes, yeah, shit happens, you know, and it was a very blokey, testosterone-fueled thing going on. But of course, again, like-minded individuals, because these questions and your position dictate on who's going to call you back. We need to make it easy. If we send 40 proposals out and we tailor them to the organization and we tailor it to their requirements, you're going to get 12 meetings. Out of those 12 meetings, you're going to win 5 to 6 of these higher level partnerships. Those 12 meetings all come from them calling us. Now, what will happen is if this lands on the CEO's desk and they have an interest, they're going to call the CEO. CEOs talk to CEOs. If it lands on the marketing, the events, if it lands on any of the creative types desk, they're going to call you. But then, if it lands on the accountant's desk, well, let's hope you've got that other person on the page who talks accountant. And I struggle to talk accountant. I don't have enough decimal points to do that. So it's, and with this, we also have to remember at the back page, you put a price. So many people hide the prices in a paragraph. Put it on a single line and bold the number. Because the last thing we want to do is someone call us in under the illusion we're asking for 5,000 when we're asking for 500. And this way, it means that it's very easy for them to read. They go, interesting front page, that's great, that's how much. This now means when you go to an appointment that they've organized, you're almost walking straight into a negotiation. You're not wasting any time. They know who you are, they know what you're offering, and then they know how much you're asking. So it really cuts down on those waste of time meetings where you end up sitting in front of someone for an hour only for them to go, we've got no money. So what this has meant is with this front cover now, you really have to think, how's this going to capture their attention? This was the easiest gig I ever had because they had a giant panda involved. I mean, let's face it, who doesn't love giant pandas? Now, giant pandas, I get this phone call from Adelaide Zoo and they say, look, can you come in and assist us? We want to get giant pandas. The difference is, as our giant pandas, we're going to get to keep them. China said we can have them, and for the last 4 years, we've raised $440,000. And I've gone, well, that's awesome. It's Adelaide, you know, in this tiny little city. You've done really well. And they goes, yes, but we need 55 million. So I sat down and stopped laughing. And then, of course, I got there only to find out they went to the local Westpac branch. And they went to the local Audi dealership, and they were talking about Adelaide's pandas. So we just done away with all that junk because it became Australia's pandas that were housed at Adelaide. Because now the most watched website in Australia, the live streaming website, is the live feed for the giant pandas in Adelaide Zoo. And it comes down to the fact that whole groups of the Chinese now tour the expat pandas. And so many have a second screen where they work of just the live feeds of these expat pandas. It's an obsession that I can truly understand, to be honest. But of course, what they now do is they leave this live stream running. So there's hundreds of thousands of views per day of a live stream where the panda, and these pandas, I don't know if anyone's had experience of pandas, but they really want to be extinct, these things. They don't want us to save them. The one thing I learned about, and my wife is looking at me going, don't talk about the pandas. But of course, the one thing I learned about pandas is they don't want to be here. They 80 kilos per panda of 2-year-old bamboo saplings get delivered. They sort through these 80 kilos and will eat 20 kilos of the 2-year-old saplings. They will never go back to the other 2-year-olds that they discarded, ever. Just now. And literally, they would die before they go back to the discard. So now, of course, you find out that bamboo has no nutritional value. And I'm going, and these zoo types were telling me all these facts, and they're going, but of course, now we've got a female, Funi and Wang Wang, coming through, and they don't like each other. They just kind of really, in fact, it's actually her. She dislikes him massively. So what happens is you get this purpose-built building, and he's like, hey, how you doing? You're a female, I'm a male, I really like you. And she's like, I hate your guts, get away from me, I'm going to scratch your eyes out. And so, of course, she goes over there, and he goes over there, and they eat their bamboo. And then, one day, out of the 365, she turns around and goes, well, actually, you're not that bad. Okay, I quite like you today. And he's like, really? I didn't know this was going. And he walks towards her, and he gets so knackered walking towards her because he's got no nutritional value in his bamboo that he plonks his ass down halfway through and goes, whoa, that's enough for today, thank you. I've got to eat my 20 kilos of bamboo. So the next day, he looks at her and she looks at him and she goes, yes, I still really like you. So he walks across to her, she walks across to him, and now, of course, he doesn't know what to do. So he gets really tired just trying to say hello, so he plonks his ass down and eats his bamboo again, and then the next day she hates him again and wants to scratch his eyes out. So, of course, nothing happens on these juvenile pandas for many years until they've actually started showing panda porn to them so that they understand what to do. So I'm going, like, why do we bother? Why not get armadillos? You know, what's wrong with this? But of course, giant pandas have something that nothing else has. They are the iconic image of the World Wildlife Fund. Everyone knows them. When we sent this proposal out, that's the front page. When it landed on everyone's desks and become Australia's pandas, and we told them about the $100 and some odd million worth of media that we're going to build around this, at one point I really thought they were going to allow me to wrap an aeroplane in a panda and have the Prime Minister stood on the runway waving to a flying panda. It was the only thing they didn't let me do. But of course, can't think why. But of course, we sent this out. 3 days of this being in the marketplace, we had 34.7 million. Now, what happened was that got written about, and then ever since, everyone's just phoned up, can you come and do this for me? And I have to have that panda conversation going, well, have you got giant pandas? And then, no, I can't do that for you. Because that's, you know, you've also, a little known fact, the reason we actually put the image the way we did there is because they're all brown and shitty at the back. You know, so we just cut the arse end off of it. I do love these 45-minute quick ones. I get to talk about things I never normally get to talk about. So your value proposition should answer this one question. Why should we sponsor you? So when you're writing this for your organization, this is the only thing you need to answer. This is what will get you that appointment. Can I ask, what's your organization or an event that you run?
Mine.
Yes.
A medical conference.
And any particular niche medical?
Critical care.
Critical care. So I find some of the funniest things sexy, and critical care is sexy. It's much like cancer. It's one of these things where there's a huge amount of investment and a lot of products, and there's a lot of things going. So critical care nurses, and is it A&E doctors as well?
Yes.
So with critical care, why should they partner with you? The way to answer this is quite straightforward. In the fastest changing environment within medical healthcare, you can't stand still. With the advent of new inclusions and novel properties on drugs, we need to keep these key people at the front line of healthcare up to date more than any other part of the medical. And we can do this for you in these key ways. We can do live events, we can do the research, we can get your comms, we can get the information out. We can give you a complete immersive experience within our industry. That's why you should sponsor us. Now, you can say it about something like critical care. I've got nurses, critical care. Is anyone here not from medical? Oh, thank God for that, to be honest. I'm going medical. Oh, I love medical. But we want to help you become more successful. Don't be afraid to tell Microsoft that. Don't be afraid to tell Apple, well, don't go to Apple, they don't sponsor. But don't be afraid to tell any organization this, because the reason you're sat in front of them is because they're not getting it somewhere else. They're not getting their access. They're not getting the cut through somewhere else. You have to be the person that assists them to get that cut through to that niche event or that niche organization that they just can't get cut through to. So who should sell sponsorship? It's this always reminds me of Belinda, my wife, because I pestered her, and she finally relented and said, yes, you can have a new car. And I literally bundled her up into the car. We drove out to the car dealership, and, well, I have to say, Hey, sound guy, thank you very much. So, of course, what happened was, I've driven up to this car dealership showroom, and they're goldfish bowls. Let's face it, they live in goldfish bowls. I've parked, and it's a Tuesday afternoon. I've parked in the car park, and some dude clocks me the moment I've parked in the car park. And he's got up, he's pulled his jacket on, and he's gone. And he's looking in this little mirror down here because he had steering wheels as cufflinks. So he wanted to make sure they are on show. And he walked straight between the entrance and the doorway there, and he walked straight through and did the cricketer pose. So, of course, you know, I'm not the bloke you want to get. I love negotiation. It's my life. It's what I do for every client. So, of course, I've walked up, and he's gone, can I help you? And I said, yes, you can. You can get out the bloody way. At that point, Belinda walks back to the car and says, I'll leave you to it. And so he went, oh, sorry. And I've walked through, and it was like I had a little leash with a puppy dog on the end of it. As I stepped through, he went, this car? It's got this, that, and the other. I said, I'm not looking at this one. And then he went, this one? I said, you're not really grasping this, are you? I'm like every guy in the world. I know the color. I know the car. I have researched the arse off this thing, and because I've had to put a campaign of pester into my wife to get this. And then on top of this, I know the engine. I know the price. I know the price I want to buy it for. I know I don't want to buy it off you because so far you've stopped me coming into your dealership. You've tried to sell me things that I don't want, and you've asked me nothing. How about you go over there, I'll go over here, and if I need something, I'll ask someone else. And sure enough, I did the most stupid question of anything I've done in sales before. I walked up to a lady who was sat at a desk in a car dealership, wearing a car dealership uniform, and went, do you work here? And at that very point, I really wanted her to answer, no, I'm just here for the fun of it. But she went, yes. I said, well, look, can I test drive this car? my part exchange is outside. I'd like this price for the part exchange, and I'd like this price for the car. So when I come back, you can let me know if you can do that. Because there's something really true that holds true in every country in the world. Men like to be served by females, and females like to be served by females. The best partnership people in the world who make the most money from this are all female. All men are at a disadvantage immediately when they get into partnerships. Women are just better at this. They're naturally gifted at this because it's relationships. And with this, it means that anyone can sell sponsorship. Not everyone should. Quite honestly, you know that board member we spoke about without the personality? Don't let them anywhere near this. When I'm interviewing for people who, sorry, I keep switching. I do apologize. We'll stay on this one, shall we? When I'm interviewing for who should be doing sponsorship, my first question is, who do you know best? How many cats do they have? Tell me about that person. Because I want to see the level of detail that they ask. I want to know, on all my clients, I can tell you how many children they have. I can tell you, well, let's say Swiss multivitamins. I work so often in that industry now that I know Radek, his wife, the CEO and his wife. I know their kids. I know where they live. I know how much he sold the company for. I know what his biggest issues are to getting cut through in the New Zealand industry. I know his biggest challenges. Because by knowing all these, it then means that all I have to do is talk to him. I don't have to sell. Sales is one of these things, I think it's completely redundant. It's one of these things we slip into and we've got to be conscious not to. Don't sell me anything. Explain the benefits. Tell me why I would be better off partnering with you guys. Tell me why my company will be more successful, and I'll make a commercial decision. You haven't got to sell anything. Sales do not work. When was the last time sales worked? Did you buy your house because someone sold it to you, or did you choose it yourself? Did you buy your car because someone sold it to you? I know I didn't. And it's really very, very few. Impulse purchase it works on. But if we're talking annual partnerships, 3- and 5-year contracts, realistically, it's not sales. It's a partnership where they really need to know that you're the go-to person for that information. So intelligence and knowledge win this hand over time because of personality. And that personality is a case where you do certain things. Remove your title off your business card. Just put your name on there. Don't have your title. If you have a manager, you'll only get up to director level. If you put director on there, you'll only get, and if you remove the title, they immediately allocate you at the same level as they are. Biggest tip ever, remove your bloody title. No one needs one. You can get much more high-level meanings by simply not having one. And gift of the gab is a myth. Their mums never told them to shut up. You know, that's basically it. If you just over-talk the whole time, you haven't asked enough questions. So anyone should sell, but not everyone should. And when you see this, really think about how that's going to impact onto the conversations. Now, I realize I've told too many stories and I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to start rushing now. So the trends. 2012 really saw Ella Bache, Pink Boat, sail around the world, Jessica Watson into Sydney Harbour. The direct impact of that was that Queensland, just the state, sold more power and pleasure craft than all of America for the next 6 months. Just because of an Ella Bache boat. Sponsorship's fickle. It changes. You watch it go through all the things. At the moment, we then went through Year of the Family. Finally, people worked out that the head of the household is the mum. So they started going, I need to speak to the mum because then all the products can go in there. And then technology kicked in, and technology, it was all app-based. If you're not approaching iPhone apps, do it now. To give you an idea, real estate event in the Gold Coast now gets $150,000 for a 2-day event from an iPhone app. And they're really easy to find, these people. You simply go through the iPhone App Store, and it's all been updated for transparency, and you hit the developer website. Under the developer website, you go to contacts. They're really easy to find. And you know if they're relevant because you just search in the App Store for your industry. And less partnerships. Do less, ask a higher value over a longer term. What we're seeing now is, quite honestly, people are just going, I want exclusivity no matter what it costs. But that's industry exclusivity. So if we talk about the most common mistake, we'll take one bank. But no, when the bank is high street bank, then you can have a merchant facility, then you can have a credit card, then you can have a wealth generator, then you can have a commercial investment bank. All of these are industry exclusivity. You design the exclusivity for the partnerships, not them. So let's get to the exciting part. Who's sponsoring? This is my favorite place to play right now. It's called complementary healthcare. Blackmores, massive. Swiss, massive. Hate each other with a deep and abiding passion. And of course, what Swiss want is youth and females, and what Blackmores want is the medical industry. So as long as you don't have surgeons who hate complementary healthcare, you're pretty good. And remember, most people can be persuaded, most industries can be persuaded to take this simply by saying, but you prescribe these. Are you vitamin D deficient? You prescribe vitamin D. When pregnant ladies may come through, then you prescribe folic acid. You know, there are a huge amount of vitamins that are actually prescribed. We won't talk about, and we'll never promote, the elixir of youth stuff that gives you shiny hair and glossy nails, or that's the wrong way around, but still, we don't promote those. Water is Coca-Cola. New Zealand has already hit the 50% tipping point for Coke. So 50% of profits for Coca-Cola in New Zealand come from something other than the fizzy pop. And most of it they want to promote as water. So if you've got an event on a boat, it's on water, get Coke in. They don't know what they're up to at the moment. They never expected you to hit this target so quick. So if you've got events around water, around hydration, around anything about this, go to Coke. They want to be involved in it. If you're in the environment, it's the only time you get to go to Coke, because now you can do water monitoring and water health and salinity and so forth. IT, Hewlett-Packard got screwed over massively recently in this region, and what they were meant to be doing was set up a large-scale wide area network to unify all the hospitals between New Zealand and all of Australia. And they skilled up for it under the impression they were going to get this. They brought all these staff over, got the head office, and then they dropped out. So now they're scrabbling around for any wide area network, any large-scale IT infrastructure. Anyone who buys IT infrastructure at your events, get Hewlett-Packard involved. Motorola do two-way radios, and they've released a new one that's a cheaper brand that no one knows, and even I've forgotten it now. So, because it's one of those crazy names like Verizon or something. It's so Motorola want rural, I guess, rural farms, small, medium enterprises, those types of things. Anyone who's doing that rural area communication. Samsung want youth, because all the adults know that, you know, the batteries blow up. And Google want you to do a thing called a moonshot. So you know the loons that we had flying across here to test all the wide area networks, and the reason they're tested in New Zealand is because when they crash, no one hears about it, and the rest of the world don't get to hear. So Google love New Zealand. So you literally go Google Google X, because don't go to Google, go to Google X. That's the research and development side. They're the ones who do the partnerships. Google don't do it, Google X do. And then under the website, do a moonshot. A moonshot is simply write what you want and how it's going to change the world. And if it's big enough, they'll do it. Doesn't matter what the cost is. We've got some things there that are going to cost $1.2, $1.4 billion. and Google has turned around and go, well, we'll build one just to trial it. So amazing opportunity for this one. Pharmaceuticals, well, essentially it comes down to two things. Mental health. So if you're in agriculture at the moment, go to someone like Pfizer, Roche, Eli Lilly, Servier, Novartis. Servier are particularly exciting because they're not doing the SSRI drugs. They're doing a thing called aglamellatine. It's sleep improvement, shortwave sleep improvement, so people wake up having a regenerative sleep instead of long-wave sleep. And Johnson & Johnson and Wyeth are looking to get hold of babies because it's baby formula. So if you're brave enough to go against the breast is best and talk about the baby formula, they're the ones. To give you an idea, Wyeth have been trying to actually give away about $100,000 to any organization that says combination feeding's okay for about 4 years now. And it's a very powerful lobby group. And randoms. Quite honestly, I couldn't think of a clever heading. So champagne. One of the biggest consumer growth in New Zealand is champagne. You're growing your champagne consumption at double digits. No other country in the world is doing this. So congratulations, I like to feel I've assisted. But now what they're doing is they want to partner with your event. This isn't big money, but it's big cost removal. So they'll pay you $5,000. It's the same for everyone. They'll pay you $5,000. They'll supply the champagne and the staff to serve it, but they'll also take on the beverage cost, the food cost, because they want a say in what food's served with the champagne, so they're complementary. So you lose your F&B cost at your event, and you can actually put something on that everyone's going to have a glass of Moet or a glass of, well, there's so many, Laurent and Perrier, Tallinger, there's all of these now. Chemicals is paint. Paint's going through a revolution. And it's now these paints that, are antibacterial, wipeable, and everyone's doing them. So their differential is the fact that they want to get hold of industry-based organizations and partner with you and get you to start doing some random rural buildings. So in the harshest environment, their paint still looks awesome. That's essentially what they want you to say. Cars and vehicles, stop going to the Germans. Quite honestly, they're not. Mercedes talk about leadership, BMW talk about driving dynamics, Audi talk about technology, and none of them mean it. You want to be going to the Koreans, you want to be going to Kia, you want to be going to Hyundai, because Hyundai give away cars hand over fist. And if you can get a car given away at your event, do what Belinda said earlier. Raffle this thing off, get your exhibitors involved so that everyone has to go to the exhibition, but have the car on the stage, not the red carpet with the black couch, white couch, and the blue and the green, because that's awful. What we do is have a really shiny car there, and then by having a shiny car, at the end of your conference, you give it away there. Everyone stays till the last moment to find out who's going to take the keys. And make sure everyone knows it's getting given away that point and someone's going to get the keys. When we did this, a lady from Meals on Wheels won it. We couldn't have asked for better. And luxury goods, Mont Blanc, Rolexes, all these. If you've got that environment that buy these types of things, no one approaches them. Do you know how many Aston Martins were sold into New Zealand last year? 12. That's it. One guy brought 2 of them. So realistically, not that many. And do you know how many different places, literally one suburb had 7 of them? If you represent the suburb that you see Aston Martins driving around, contact Aston Martin. They really want to hear from you. So what we want to do, and last but by no means least, firearms. Firearms, they've never been able to be used. Like, there's some things you don't do, McDonald's, tobacco, firearms. But firearms have suddenly become really topical in environmental removal of wild pests. Sometimes you have to just kill these things. And what do you use to do it? Well, we had the Browning sponsor the Far North Queensland. There's 19,000 people live on the Cape. There's 1 million pigs. And the pigs are eating the turtle eggs that are endangered. The environmental organisations have tried everything, digging trenches around these, everything. Nothing's working. There's a million of these damn things. So now we've got Bell helicopters with firearm people, and it looks like something out Flight of the Valkyrie. Like it's obscene. But they're mowing down all these pigs. And of course, they developed a thing called the Pig Buster, a gun that doesn't overheat when you put that many rounds through. And of course, it cost them a little over $1.5 million to do this. But of course, now they can claim to be the tool of the environmentalist. So never say never. If there's a way through, then have a look at that. Brings me neatly to any questions. Now, if you're anything like me, and you always feel, bugger, I should have asked. I normally think of a great question when I'm laying in the bath, to be honest. But we've got a Q&A session later this afternoon. And the Q&A is dedicated just so you can ask a specific question about your organization. We can answer it more deeply, how it relates to your event, any challenges you have. So I'll thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the Q&A. Thank you.